Sox in the basement.
Edward, did you enjoy your game? Where were you? You were there on Friday against the Mets, right?
I was there on Friday. My wife getting a beer shower and all. It was great.
She got a beer shower, huh? That's celebration beer shower though, right? That's not like fight in the stands beer shower.
No, actually, it was three drunk guys trying to do the wave beer shower, which is even worse.
That's terrible. Listen, folks, the wave is stupid. Don't do it. Really, it's so non-White Sox fan to do the wave. I'm very against it.
I didn't understand it. Rich Drennan, friend of the show, guy who's been on with us, he was there at the game with me, and he saw the wave happening, and he said, well, he was a little more colorful with it, but I don't understand it. It's not like one of these teams is winning 20-1.
Well, that's the other thing. How can you be bored? The game is close. It was a close series. You had two walk-offs in this series. I mean, the Mets came to play in that whole series. And it felt like a team like the Mets, who didn't have very much to play for it, amped themselves up for the White Sox. And the White Sox did well in front of the home crowd with two winners at the end. The one where the girl loses all of her stuff out of her purse was amazing. I think the Sox did a great job with their PR of like kind of finding her and doing the whole thing and having her take a picture with Jake Rogers. And I just saw a video where her and Southpaw are dropping stuff out of their bags. Like she's now become like an unofficial star here of the week with the White Sox. The guy who did the drop kick in the upper deck, not a star, complete jerk. In fact, everybody up there in that fight, if you haven't seen this video, it's insane. But
it's terrible.
The fight in the upper deck is disgusting. On the other hand, I've watched this now from multiple angles because it was going on long enough that you were kind of like, whew, like this, where's security on this one? Like this is taking a while, right? Like that fight's going on.
It looked like security got there, but was helpless.
Yeah, but he was overmatched. He was surrounded.
That's what I mean.
That poor guy that got up there first, like what was he supposed to do? He couldn't do very much. But the one guy is just getting beat on. And then he climbs up a couple rows. And then he decides he's a kung fu fighter. And then he jumps down several rows with both legs extended in this ridiculous like video game kick. And then
it's a missile drop kick. He's clearly a wrestling fan.
Okay, and then the guy who he lands next to or he bangs into or however it goes, he takes him and immediately catapults him several more rows down and throws him down into the stands. And that's the moment. Like that whole fight is scary. Like if you've never been in the upper deck, you may not get it. But most of us have been up there and sat up there. It's already unsettling how steep the seats are.
Yes.
Like, it's a massive design flaw in the stadium, how steep.
It is frightening up there if you were even remotely afraid of heights.
It used to be even worse, too, until they redid everything. It used to be even worse.
Yeah, they made it better somehow.
But it's still way too steep. It can be very uncomfortable. I know people that won't sit up there because of they feel like they get dizzy. They're afraid they're going to fall forward. Well, now you got a fight going on where there are bodies like moving from the top to the bottom and being thrown about and kicking and everything like that. And the first thing I thought of was like, one, I can't believe the guy that got thrown didn't have his neck broken when he got thrown down a couple more rows up against the seat. And two, thank goodness there wasn't like a family with small children. Because I've been there before. I brought my children to that level before and sat in the first couple of rows. I would have just been, I would have had to go into full, like, cover them up so that a flying body doesn't catch like a 5-year-old and kick that kid over the side. Scary fight. They got to figure that out. And I don't know what the White Sox can do about that. Okay. Except for every single person. There's so many angles when those fights break out. There's so many angles. They should identify every single person and ban them for life.
Yeah. There's no excuse for it. I don't care what was going on. Like I said, the guy who dumped his beer on my wife, I jokingly looked at her. And of course, if you've been following along with the show, I'm not in a condition to fight anybody right now.
No.
And but I looked, I said, do I have to kick his ass? I'll kick his ass. and she's like, no, that's okay. But the guy came down. He came down to us twice. We actually moved a row ahead. He apologized. Right. He was very apologetic. His friends were like, we're sorry about him. He's an asshole. And I'm saying that verbatim. So it was an honest mistake, but there was no reason for us to get, to throw hands over it.
No,
it sucked, but
you don't throw hands over it.
But it wasn't.
Sometimes a beer gets spilled on you. That's a very different thing.
It just, it happens. So whatever started it up there, there's no excuse for it.
I don't think there is. I'm sure there's somebody up there who was like, look, man, the only reason that I got involved in it was because like that was the only way to defend. I couldn't get away.
If you're defending yourself,
Like,
I get it.
Like, I'm surrounded and and I'm not even part of this whole thing. I mean, I guess I get that, but I also feel like I've been there a few times. I think every single person that's done enough games at enough sporting events has had the moment when they're like, oh, this is about to turn into something. I've had that moment before. This is about to turn into something. All right. And
I've looked at who I'm sitting with. Hey, it's time to go get a hot dog.
Right.
Why? It's time to go get a hot dog.
Time for us to go take a walk and go explore a little bit and just get away. I've done that before at ball games before. And there is an alternative to turning around saying, what are you going to do about it? Because that eventually leads to just bodies flying from row to another row. And that
leads to Jeff Hardy up there deciding to swanton on everybody. And it's not good.
Now, some of those people may have injuries. And if they do, it may be time for them to switch to a new age of life, keep themselves out of assisted living. They may need a lift chair. They may need ramps, grab bars. They may need some bathroom remodeling. I don't know if the guy who got thrown down the stands is walking well today. So, I mean, he may need some help from Hyatt Home Medical Equipment. And you, who do not go out and fight at ball games, you might want to keep mom and dad, grandma and grandpa out of assisted living. Hyatt's going to work with your insurance. They have 0% financing for qualified individuals. They have the latest and greatest in CPAP machines. They also have the latest and greatest continuous glucose monitors. We've heard that Jordan Hicks uses that. And so much more. If you're looking for medical equipment, you can tell your insurance provider, I want to go to Hyatt Home Medical Equipment. They got a beautiful showroom in Evergreen Park, and they've got an online store. They will answer all of your questions at hhme.com. Jose or Kitty, by the time this show comes out, will have gotten his first start in many years in Major League Baseball. It is something I've been clamoring for. I've been clamoring for Jose or Kitty. I've been clamoring for Drew Thorpe to get here. I don't know what the mindset has been up until this point. I don't know when they plan on activating Thorpe. We actually have a listener email, so we'll lead into the show and this discussion with Dick, who sent us a message. He wrote, hey guys, new listener here, but I just want to start off by saying how much I've enjoyed listening to your podcast. It really helped ease my panic after a Sox loss and excites me for this team's future after a Sox win. I know you've expressed your excitement and belief in Drew Thorpe, but it looks like Fetty and Urquidy are going to be in the rotation for the foreseeable future, or at least until Davis Martin returns. Do you like this idea? And do you think Urquidy's success is sustainable? Also, do you think Davis Martin will bounce back in the long term, or is he another Shane Smith? It feels like this pitching staff has a long way to go before this team can officially contend with the big dogs. Peace and love, Dickie H. Okay, listen.
He's right about one thing.
He's right about a few things in here.
He's right about, but his last point is a major one, which is the pitching has a long way to go.
The pitching is behind.
Yeah, it is well behind.
I think it's clear that the pitching is behind. Now, I don't think that it's an impossible task to still form your pitching. I mean, Hagen Smith looked good over the weekend.
He did. He rebounded from giving up that walk-off to PCA rather nicely.
I mean, I would think that guy's going to compete for a starting spot next year. I do believe in Drew Thorpe. You know that I do. I'm a big fan of guys that keep guys off base. Drew Thorpe has a consistent low whip for a starting pitcher. He even did it in those 9 games that were his first 9 games in the majors before he got injured with the White Sox. He's doing it now down in the minor leagues. I know he's coming back from a surgery, and there's not even a rush to get him here. My uncle reached out. He goes to me when he's trying to figure something out. He's like, hey, don't they have to have Thorpe in the rotation or up here on the 26-man roster or on the 40-man by September the 1st? The rule is you got to be on the 40-man or you got to be on the 60-day IL. So Thorpe is eligible for the postseason even if they don't activate him. At least, I mean, I have poured through all the rules in Major League Baseball because I wanted to make sure I was right about this. Because I was even doing the same thing. Like, don't they have to get him here by September the 1st? He's technically still in the 60-day. He has made it his 60 days so he can be activated at any time. Whatever they're waiting for, they want to make sure he's ready. He's on a rehab assignment right now. I do think he gets here, and I don't know. I mean, I'm very nervous to say my thoughts on Jose Urquidy because we're recording the show before he performs on Monday night, so I may sound like a moron when this episode comes out. That happens sometimes when I talk about a pitcher. And I think I said on one of the shows I want to say on one of the previous shows, I was like, Luis Castillo looks really good. I think he's going to be one of the playoff starters, and he's been in the tank ever since I said it, including the night of the recording. So, I mean, I'm afraid to say it, but I did like Urquidy's last performance. And I will say overall, he has shown signs that he could return to a form at least closer to what he was when he was younger with the Astros, and be one of those starters that takes you to the finish line. I actually inserted him in my fantasy baseball playoffs this week because he's got 2 starts. And I said, you know what? I believe in Jose Urquidy enough that I'm riding him in the postseason in fantasy baseball as a surprise addition into my rotation. So I believed him in enough to do that. I don't know what happened, but as you're listening to this, I'm either a genius or a moron right now.
Well, but here's the thing. Okay, so Jose Urquidy versus Luis Castillo. All right. Urquidy is a guy who is incredibly good with the Astros. I mean, he's a very, very good starting pitcher with the Astros, and then has an arm injury. He has an elbow injury, right? So he's on his way back now. This is the time when guys who have had the Tommy John, or they've had internal brace procedures, or any of these elbow surgeries that you hear about, this is about the time in his comeback when he starts to, you figure out, is he going to be what he was, or is there some diminishment? Okay. And he's starting to look like what he was. The numbers the past couple of years where he skips an entire year and then he comes back and he looks pretty pedestrian and pretty terrible, that happens. Okay. So it's pretty believable that Urquidy could come back and be the Jose Urquidy that he was with the Astros, versus Luis Castillo, who the question has been, are we watching him fall apart? Are we watching this guy slowly lose his stuff? Is age and mileage catching up to him? And he does not have the arm injury history, right? He does not have he's coming back off something. So to tie this into Drew Thorpe, the question is, will Drew Thorpe come back and get up here with the Sox and look bad the way Jose Urquidy did on his return from an elbow injury? Or is he going to look as good as he has looked in the minors? All right. And obviously minor league talent, different story than coming up to the majors. Maybe Drew Thorpe's getting away with some stuff down there. I haven't seen video of him, so I don't know. But there's a crapshoot with all 3 of those guys. Now, Castillo had one really good start, and maybe they can unlock something with him. Urquidy, like you said, we're going to have to wait and see, but
they must like him enough to make him start. That's the thing. Going into Monday night's game, they were like, yeah, we're not using him as a bulk reliever. He's starting. So there's something that they saw. They were like, hey, you know what? Let's just give it a shot. We gotta try somebody in there because we haven't figured out who our 5 starters are. Well, this is such a weird thing. We're at the back end of August. You've got
and they're still trying to find the rotation
in your division. Yeah, I mean, the only people chasing you have sub 500 records. And you don't have your rotation. Like there's a lot going on here, and who knows? Maybe it'll be a question for our next guest. I don't think I've told you this, but I'm going to Cork and Kerry at the park on Wednesday, recording with a special guest. You're going to get next episode off.
Okay.
All right. And I'm going to be at 33rd and Princeton in the shadow of the ballpark before the game starts. Enjoying the award-winning menu of burgers and ballpark favorites, the extensive bar with a rotation of craft beers, familiar favorites, spirits, and wines. Your place, your home base for White Sox pregame, postgame, and viewing parties. Cork and Kerry at the park. See more at corkandkerry.com. I'll be at 33rd and Princeton with Father Tom Hurley, who you would know as the guy that did the Peace Be With You.
Ah, yes.
And then also he's been in some commercials with Pat McGann and Ozzie Guillen. And it's been interesting to watch his involvement with the team this year. And he's a friend. And I was like, hey, man, you want to record sometime? And he's like, I'm going to the game on Wednesday. Do you want to do it at the Cork? I love that place. And I'm like, well, if it's endorsed by a priest, right? Make sure you get that out there. And secondly, if that's what Father Tom wants to do, we're going to do it. So I'm also going to the game now. I was like, well, if I'm going down there, I'm going to go to the game.
You got to go to the game.
Yeah. I actually picked my seat. Like I'm bringing my daughter Audrey down before she goes to Barcelona next week for a year of study in architecture with the University of Illinois, which she's very excited about. And it's like a packing station right now around the place. And I'm a little nervous, but excited for her. So I was like, hey, Dad will take you to the ball game because next week you're leaving the country. So we're going to go down. I'm going to record with Father Hurley, hang out at Cork and Kerry at the park, and then go into the ball game. I decided to do the section there out in right field, the Miller Lite area there with the high tables, like the bench things.
Oh, okay,
yeah. I like that. Okay. It also feels like the kind of place where there's not going to be a brawl. because you're separated by like big giant tables.
Right.
It's like the safest place in the ballpark. I feel bad that I had that thought, but that's what I felt when I booked the ticket. I was like, oh, this will be a nice calm place to watch the game. I'm not going up there with those crazy people.
No.
I'm going to stay down here in the outfield area, with like the big tables that separate all of us. So there's less conflict. I'm an old man. I don't want conflict anymore.
No,
it's been a few years since I had to throw a punch.
Conflict.
I don't want to do it anymore. It's not in my makeup, right? I would talk tough, but earlier, I don't want to do it.
I'm like the old man in Wedding Singer when he throws a punch. I used to be much stronger. So.
All right, so he's going to be our next show. We'll be recording that on Wednesday at Cork and Carry at the park. But back to our discussion here with Drew Thorpe. I do think eventually he gets in there to answer the question of our listener. I
have concerns about Davis Martin.
I have concerns about that's exactly what I was looking for the words for. I don't know if Davis Martin is coming back this year effective. I don't know. And I don't know if you want to say, well, he's just another Shane Smith. I think the problem is that we've got pitchers that we pointed this out a couple of weeks ago. We have pitchers that just never had the innings. And we weren't supposed to be good.
Right.
And these guys, I think, would be getting shut down right now. And you'd be like, well, it doesn't matter. We're 10 games under 500 and not really in it. Nice year by Davis Martin. We'll see him next year when he could do another 40 innings. But it really matters now because of how good we are. So now the question now becomes, well, how are we going to fill that in? They are fortunate in the idea that Thorpe should be able to get here. If Urquidy really can put together more good games than bad games, they're fortunate over that. Right? Eric Fetty, I thought we were out of the rotation. Now we're not really in it. We're kind of like a bulk guy. I mean, at some point, they're going to have to figure all this out. It's really the biggest question, but I don't know if I'm confident that Davis Martin is going to do very much for this team down the stretch.
Here's the thing about Martin is that, you watch Sean Burke maybe struggle a little bit with a little bit of fatigue, but Sean Burke can get away with throwing a 98-mile-an-hour fastball in a hittable zone. And when it's paired up with his other stuff, his curveball in particular, he can throw guys off still and he can make his way through a game. Okay. And you saw that on Friday. Frankly, you saw that on Friday where he did pretty well. Brenton Doyle losing a ball in center field notwithstanding. Sean Burke was hittable, but not getting crushed. And Davis Martin, though, when you talk about what he did at the beginning of the season, the description was he had to be Maddox-like. Okay, he had to be hitting his spots. He had to be pinpoint with his control. And if Davis Martin's arm is that fatigued, control is something that goes more so than velocity because it takes more effort to get those pitches up there. It takes more effort to get the rotation on them. And the more you have to put effort behind the pitches, the less control you have. All right. Any pitcher will tell you that. So if Martin is tired, if Martin is in fact just way over his inning limits, if he's up past his bedtime, as it were, okay, he may come back and still be very hittable because he's not hitting his spots. He's not getting the ball on the corners. He is not throwing his breaking stuff that starts off for a strike and ends up, out of the strike zone, which he needed. And not believably so. He may not be getting the late break on the stuff. If he's leaving stuff hittable, Davis Martin was always a very hittable pitcher. Where we thought he had made a breakthrough was Davis Martin has figured out how to pitch. And if he comes back and is able to do that, if he's able to come back with diminished velocity, diminished stuff because he's tired and he's able to do that. And if it was a blister on the finger, doesn't explain a lot of his starts. But if there was something that skipping a turn in the rotation, maybe skipping 2 turns in the rotation here, frees him up, makes him feel better, and he comes back and he's effective, that's fantastic. That answers one of the problems, one of the questions. And maybe if he is effective and can be effective going forward, Drew Thorpe is a nice stash. Maybe he comes up here and he spot starts a few times to give other guys rest because Burke is going to need a rest at some point too. Anthony Kay, I think, even though he's pitched far more innings than these other guys, probably could use a breather. Eric Fetty, even though he's not going 6 innings each start because he's a bulk reliever and he's going 4 or 5 innings, he could probably use a breather. Or Kitty, coming back off of an injury, might actually need a breather here. So I think Thorpe is going to be in that 6th starter role if Davis Martin comes back. But if Davis Martin comes back and he throws up another terrible game, you're going to have Drew Thorpe come up here and figure out if he can be the answer because you need you need more than what you have right now going into a postseason.
We're going to find out very, very soon whether or not I'm going to start worrying about the Guardians. I made a rule. I'm still sticking by it. At least at the time we're recording, they're under 500. Maybe by the next show, I'm concerned about it, right? But the Sox are 4 up in the loss column, and they're only being chased by teams under 500. And some people might think that it's cocky that I'm saying that, but remember where the Tigers were just recently, and now they're sitting 7 back, not only in the loss column, but in their total games behind. The Twins went on a nice little run. They're now 5 under 500, and they are sitting 6 back in the loss column from the Chicago White Sox. So I'm just not going to put myself through the day-to-day hand-wringing and stress until one of these teams gets themselves to 500 or better, and then I go, okay, it's a race now, right? Because I don't believe this team's going to come back down. I think somebody's got to come back up and get them. And there's too much fight in a team that has 2 comeback walk-off victories in their last weekend series and was able to go to Detroit and sweep them in a high-pressure situation. They even with the problems they're having out there with their pitching, they make me feel confident as a fan that it's going to be more about can somebody catch this team than this team petering out at the end. And if they, God forbid, do peter out at the end, it's going to be the pitching. So they got to figure this thing out, Ed, for sure. Sox in the Basement listeners trying to make the most of your money. Give a call to Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor. Located on the corner of 111th and Kedzie, but serving the Chicagoland area, Tom has a get-to-know-you approach and a do-the-right-thing attitude. He's been doing this for decades. It's all about knowing your options when you're investing and planning for your retirement, no matter what stage you are at. It costs nothing to check in with Tom. Give Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor, a call today, 773-779-0023. Edward Jones, member SIPC. There's a few things that I want to kind of get to here at the back end of the show, okay? Just some things that are kind of hanging out there, just some threads, right? Like for example, we had all kinds of listener comments, and somebody in the YouTube channel was mad about my take on Will Venable last episode, which is funny because I spent like 7 minutes talking about how I think Will Venable is a massive improvement and a good manager for his culture and things like that. But I was met with, have you ever managed a game? Who are you to talk about his mistakes in game? And I get these comments every once in a while, and I got to the point the other day where I was like, no, I got to say this. Folks, being a fan in a sport means that you are somebody who's not playing the sport, and then you observe what's happening in said sport, and you react to it with joy or sadness or frustration or excitement or whatever it may be. And if you really do love the sport, whether it be baseball or football or anything else like that, you learn that game and you start to have opinions. Fandom is opinions. It really is. That's the whole point. If you're watching a sport and you don't think that you're allowed to have an opinion, I'm confused. Because if you don't have a fan, if you don't have somebody who sits there and watches something and either gets excited about it or upset about it or worried about it or frustrated about it or questions it or anything else like that, then how much are they really paying attention? Then it's just a bunch of people playing a sport and nobody's actually watching. Then it's just the thing in the background while you go out to have a meal and drink some beers and maybe get into a fight in the stands. I don't know. I mean, like that's all it is, Ed. So I find it to be maybe one of the more tired arguments that I ever hear whenever we make a point. I've always found it to be a tired argument when I listen to somebody on the radio make a point and somebody calls up and goes, have you ever played? And it's probably most tired with baseball. Most of us have played Little League baseball. And the beauty of baseball is it's basically the same rules once we get to the point where the coaches aren't pitching and you're actually swinging away. It's basically the same game. Double plays work the same way. Bunting situations work the same play. You could be 12 years old and play baseball, and you at least understand the rules of baseball. You understand situations and everything else like that if you're paying any kind of attention. So yes, you're right. I haven't managed in the major leagues, but I've managed a lot of older kids, and I played a lot of baseball. And I still do it recreationally from time to time. and I'm a fan. And I just find it to be maybe one of the dumbest arguments whenever I see that. Right? It's just kind of silly. It's just as silly as like when you're listening to the radio. There's no real difference between the podcasters and the radio broadcasters at this point. There really isn't. There are people who choose not to be on radio anymore because it's a messed up industry. We just watched that happen with the morning show in Chicago, right? Like people are confused about what happened with Mully and Haw. Ed and I were like, yeah, that's radio there, man.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That's what happens in radio. Like unless you go, I'm retiring on my own terms, and they're like, that's wonderful. You don't get a microphone at the end to air your grievances or have the moment where you sit there and say, I really don't want to leave, but this is why I'm really leaving. You don't.
Which is what happened with Brian Hanley when it was Mully and Hanley, and they gave him a goodbye show, and he admitted on air, this wasn't my idea. And everyone was like, well, that's not what they wanted him to say.
And I'm not defending the Score's decision on the whole thing, but I also have found that really funny too, that people are kind of like reacting to. You have a major morning show in Chicago where the one host is out, and everybody's like, why didn't they give him a chance to talk? You know, look, I have 2 program directors in my life who have learned the lesson the hard way of you never let the guy talk.
No, don't let him talk.
My program director at KRFR FM in Bakersfield, California, we had a really bad contract negotiation. He was like, what are you going to do about it? And then he made the mistake of letting me go back on the air the next day. 4 hours later, when security finally found a way to open up the door live on the air after I'd aired all the dirty laundry, they still let me stay on for 2 more weeks because then they would have looked terrible pulling me out at that point. That's why you don't give people the microphone. My Reno, Nevada story is always my favorite one. That's the one where they had done like testing and we had never had a ratings book, and somebody decided my Chicago accent made me sound angry to women on the West Coast.
Which is possible.
It's possible. I wasn't being angry. I was just doing my show, right? But they knew what they got. Yeah. When they hired me, they had the tapes. They knew what I sounded like when they hired me, right? So then they decided they want to get rid of me, and I figured out they were firing me that day. And they said, hey, look, can you come on in? Can you record just your last hour? Because we got to have a meeting with you at 9, and I was on until 10 doing mornings. And I was like, wait a minute, I've been taken out of every commercial. All my weekend events, somebody else is doing that. I think they're firing me. So I went in and recorded the last hour.
There's always signs, aren't there?
There's always signs. So I go in and record the last hour. They walk in. They try to tell me they're giving me a severance package. I laugh because I have a guaranteed contract. That guy got fired for giving me the guaranteed contract because they thought they were getting away at a cheaper price. I pack up all my stuff. I'm walking out of the building, and my last break came on, which I would have fixed if I wasn't getting fired. But an hour later, here comes the last break, and they made the mistake of giving me a microphone. And man, I broke a lot of FCC rules talking about that.
Yeah.
I had a lot of language when I left. All the other DJs applauded as I walked out the door. That's why you don't give the guy the microphone on the way out the door. So I kind of understand, and everybody's like really confused about that. I know about a tangent on that, but I mean, like, I'm really confused. And then, and then one more thing, and you'll back me up on this one, then we'll get off this show. Because I mean, I really like talking White Sox, but some of the Chicago media stuff is astounding to me because I did radio, and I did it for 10 years. Ed was in the media too, right?
Yeah.
And Jeff Agress has got an article out now today about how like the talent pool is dried up in Chicago. Like, how did this happen? You want to know what happened? Because it's a boys club. And when I say boys club, it's a boys and girls club, but it's a club. And one guy gets fired, they move him to another station. Then he gets fired, they move him someplace else. Then this person gets fired, they move him over there. These guys were a morning team on one thing, now they're the afternoon team on another thing. But you know what you never do? You never cultivate any talent. Because when a guy like me came available, and somebody's going to say I have sour grapes about this, but trust me, it's just an example. I had been number one in multiple towns and was from Chicago. And I was getting offers in Minneapolis and on ESPN radio in different towns and all these other things like that. But you know who wouldn't give me a job? Nobody in Chicago. You want to know why? Because you have to go through this weird thing where you got to get coffee for people for 10 years. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go do that. I'm going to go do what I want to go do. And I left, right? Radio in mid-sized markets and all over the rest of the country is so much better than here. Like the talk radio is incredible in other places. You've been recycling the same people over and over again for decades. And now they've all gotten old. And everybody's been at every station so many times now, you don't know where to recycle them to. And guess what you don't have? A young group that's available to take over mornings.
No, because you've cultivated talent over the years, but they've all gone to other places.
Right. They've moved on is what happens. They've said, we're leaving. You want to know what the real problem is in Chicago radio? It's the same voices. It's the same guys. They move them around. I'm not saying that they aren't talented people, but like this club.
A lot of them are very good.
This club in Chicago really basically said like, hey, We're just all going to stick together. If you lose your job over at the Loop, don't worry, we'll move you over here to XRT or whatever it would be. And that's just an example I'm just throwing out. But I mean, like, that's the stuff that they've been doing for decades. Now, why all of a sudden are all the guys old and you don't have any young talent that's like shining? Well, you made your bed 30 or 40 years ago. And that's why it happened. I don't even need to read the Agrest article. I know the answer to the question. Do you know the answer to the question?
Oh, I know the answer to the question. Now if we can just figure out who the hell the closer is for the White Sox.
You want to know what the real answer is, though? It's going to be White Sox podcasters, Bears podcasters, young people that have a voice that are doing, not me. I'm too old for that game. I would never get back into radio, right?
We do not qualify as young talent,
I don't want it, but I'm telling you what the answer is going to be. At some point, some program director is going to figure out that you've got people out there that are talented, and they may not have been on radio per se, but they're doing really good work. And it's time. They
know how to use a microphone.
And it's time to maybe dip into that pool and grab those guys and put them on the radio. It's time to give a chance at a guy that's been toiling away at weekends for the last 10 years, right? Instead of looking for the next big name or ex-sports star or whatever that you go out and get. One day they'll figure it. Maybe they won't figure it out. If they don't figure it out, you know what I know? The podcasts are going to continue to kill it.
And here we are.
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always on soxinthebasement.com.